Where the genocide started in Cambodia, which is a small country that's only a fraction of the size of the United States. In fact, Cambodia is about half the size of California. In 1953, this minute country gained independence from France, who had ruled them for over 100 years. In the 1960s, Prince Sihanouk ruled over 7 million people who were heavily Buddhists. Unfortunately, in the 1960s, a civil war broke out between the Khmer Rouge and the Khmer Republic. Cambodia also joined as allies in the Vietnam War. Both of these wars made Cambodia weaker than they had been. At this time, it was safe to say that this nation was fraudulent after devastation of war and feuds.
Under the threat of death, all the people who lived in towns and cities were forced to leave. The sick, disabled, old, and very young were all sent out as well. Those who refused and those who took too long to leave were killed. All of their rights were abolished. Children were taken from their parents and placed in separate forced labor camps. Many companies, schools, engineers, and even the army were all shut down. All religion was banned, and since their main religion was Buddhism, all the Buddhist monks were killed and every temple was destroyed. It was possible for people to be shot simply for knowing a foreign language, wearing glasses, laughing, or even crying. One man tells his story of living through the genocide. He tells that he was handcuffed and locked in a box similar to a coffin. They then filled the box to the top with water and left him in there for up to 4 minutes. Those who escaped murder became unpaid laborers, working for close to nothing, and were forced to work very long hours. They slept and ate in uncomfortable and crowded areas that were deliberately chosen to be as far away as possible from their old homes. Personal relationships were not allowed, so were expressions of affection to others. People soon became weak from overwork and starvation, and after that they became very sick, and there was no treatment except for death. Many of the dead and some living were buried in mass graves called fields. The pain, torture, and conditions they had to fight through in hopes that they might be one of the lucky ones to survive, we cannot even imagine.
Cambodia lay in ruins under the newly established Vietnamese government. The economy failed under Pol Pot, and all professionals, engineers, technicians, and planners who could potentially reorganize Cambodia had been killed in the genocide. Since Cambodia had now fallen under Vietnamese control, foreign relief aid from any Western or democratic state was unlikely. Throughout the 1980s, the U.S. and U.K. instead offered financial and military support to the Khmer Rouge forces in exile, who had now sworn opposition to Vietnam and communism. The Vietnamese occupation and the continual threat of Khmer Rouge guerrilla forces preserved Cambodia in underdeveloped and prehistoric conditions until Vietnam's eventual withdrawal in 1989. In the following military conflicts of 1978 through 1989, an additional 14,000 Cambodian civilians perished. In 1911, a peace agreement was finally reached, and Buddhism was reinstated as the official state religion. The nation's first true democratic elections were held in 1993. On July 25, 1983, the Research Committee on Pol Pot's genocidal reign issued its final report, including detailed province-by-province data. Among other things, the data showed that 3,314,768 people lost their lives in the Pol Pot time. Beginning in 1995, mass graves were uncovered throughout Cambodia. Bringing the perpetrators to justice, however, has proved to be a difficult task.